Thank you. Welcome to KUTV, Elimu Live. This is Kenya's premier educational television. My name is Teacher Ashford Gikunda Kimani. I teach students English and literature at Ingedo Secondary School, which is in Gatondo North Sub-County. Notice I said I teach students English literature, not I teach English literature. My students come first. I want to welcome you, all the KCSE students watching us live from your homes. As I said, this is Kenya's premier educational television, KU Elimu Live, where we bring you lessons for primary schools and for secondary schools every day from 2 to 4. I know most of you are at home now for the holidays, and I want to advise you to make the best out of the holidays. The other day I went to the village and I saw students roaming the streets, roaming the paths in the village, towns, and I think that is not prudent use of time. I would advise you to make the best out of this free time you have, because holiday does not mean resting and wasting time for students. Today, we will focus on English, paper 1, question 3, which is oral skills. It's already on the board. My colleague, teacher Mother, who was here before, was focusing on paper 2, question 4. Thank you very much, Teacher Mother from Kisumu County. I am sure your student from Ondienya Secondary School are very proud of you. And I also hope that our students were able to pick something from that good lesson about ambiguity in sentences. Now, I want us to start looking at the oral skills. This is a question 3, which carries 30 marks. It's a very comprehensive question. I think it is the question that has the highest marks in all the KCSE questions. So 30 marks are very many, and therefore it is important we know how to tackle the oral skills. As we wait for the PowerPoint to come up, I want to say that oral skills are skills that we should portray in social situations as we deal with others in our everyday lives. The media of exchange for the oral skills is the word of mouth, that which comes out orally through the word of mouth. We meet people every day. We meet friends every day, family members every day, strangers every day. Even today, you could be going somewhere and you could meet a stranger and he could stop you and he could ask you for directions or anything. There is a way we are supposed to portray ourselves. We also meet VIPs. I am sure in your lifetime, you come across a very important person, and there is a way you present yourself so that there is a good etiquette, good manners, etc., etc. The oral skills are the universally accepted code of conduct that we must demonstrate orally as we engage people, as we talk, etc., etc. It is through the oral skills that you are able to portray etiquette, good manners, respect, courtesy, decorum, kindness, because all these things are measured through our oral skills. I will take that again. The importance of oral skills. It is through the oral skills that we are able to demonstrate etiquette, that is good manners, the manners that are acceptable in social setups, respect, courtesy, decorum, kindness, etc., etc., etc. And as you can see on the slide there, that particular slide is capturing the importance of oral skills. Oral skills enhance our speeches. We call them enhancers of speech. Speech is the spoken word. Last year, in KCSE English Paper 1, the question of speech was brought for 2 marks. And if you look at last year's paper, the last year's KCSE Paper 1, it had very creative questions. There was a situation where the students were asked, you've been sent to class by the principal to go and take a message to one of the students in class. How would you go about it? And remember, there is a teacher in class. You don't just go, get in, and deliver the message. There is an expected code of conduct orally, the way you're going to present yourself. Therefore, oral skills enhance our speech. Number 2, they enhance listening. All the years, or in most paper 1 questions, you will not fail to find the question asking you, what would you do to make sure that you get the best from a speech? Or what would you do to make sure your audience gets what you are saying? That is enhancing listening. Listening is very important. When we talk of oral skills, we are combining listening and speaking skills. Those two, listening and speaking, they are very important. Right now, I am speaking to you. You notice at the beginning, there was a particular way I started. I said my name, I introduced myself, and there is a way of introducing yourself. Again, in last year's KCSE question, if you have the paper with you, you can always refer to them. They were asked to give phrases that we use for self-introduction. How do we introduce ourselves? These are things that we do every day, and we might assume them. But there is an expected way in which we are supposed to present them. The third importance of oral skills is to make our communication effective. We could be talking about the same thing, but one speaker is more effective in their delivery and the way it's being received than the others. Why? Because of good use of the oral skills. Number 4, oral skills show courtesy or etiquette. For example, if you walk to the head teacher's office or to the principal's office, you knock softly, you wait to be welcomed, and when you are welcomed, you say there is a way you present yourself inside there, and there is a way you approach that office. When you do that, you are showing courtesy or etiquette. You may be in school as a student, and you step on your friend's toes. There is a way you tell them, I am sorry, I didn't mean to step on your toes. That is courtesy or etiquette. Then the other one is to show respect, and is also a sign of good manners. We are able to tell people who have good manners because of the way they use their oral skills. From that, we are able to tell this one is good mannered. The way they excuse themselves. Somebody comes and finds you talking, the way they approach you, you can always tell who has demonstrated good manners and who has demonstrated bad manners. The last one there is to show good manners. I think that is a repetition. I have talked about that. We can move on to the next slide. As that is happening, I want to remind you that oral skills falls under listening and speaking skills. Very, very important. Listening and speaking skills. And listening as, speaking has 2 aspects. We have what we call the oral communication, and we have what we call the non-verbal communication. The communication, we communicate without using one's of mouth. Next is, if you look at KCSE English Paper 1, question 3, the one that has 30 marks, it tests a range of oral skills. I'm waiting for the slide to come up there. And as that is happening, I will be able to demonstrate it to you. The slide is already there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Just to remind you, this is KUTV, Elimu Live, Kenya's premier educational television. We have lessons here for students in primary and high school. So instead of just roaming, you can sit down and follow us from home. And if you have questions, remember at the end of the lesson, we are going to take some of them. Just a minute. There are some basic oral skills, as you can see from the screen. One of them, and this one people take it for granted, is the greetings. Greetings. I remember coming across a question in one of the mock papers asking for the importance of greetings, and it carried 3 marks. Have you ever wondered or posed to wonder the role or the purpose or the function greetings play? Greetings are very important in oral skills. If you met with a stranger and you wanted their assistance, you're not asking them, show me where KICC is. Show me where this school is. I am sure there's always a starting point. So what are the functions of greetings? We'll also be looking at that. We can also call it the handshake. The handshake is non-verbal. I can greet you verbally, good morning, good afternoon, hi, how are you? That is verbal communication. If I didn't do verbal communication, remember I can extend my hand and greet you. There are different ways of doing handshake or greetings, and the teenagers these days have their own greetings. During COVID time, we are under some other form of greetings, and they are also important because it is in greetings that we break the ice. Number 2, second important basic oral skills is the eye contact. Eye contact communicates. It's very important. When we are addressing people, we always give them a direct eye contact. I am in your class now teaching you, and I am not looking down. There is a reason why I am maintaining an eye contact. Very important. You have seen some people shy away when you're talking to them. They are looking down. They are looking elsewhere, and you interpret that to mean maybe some form of rudeness or something else they're hiding. For example, in our schools, when students know they're in the wrong and they are talking to their teacher, they will not want to show them the eye contact. There is something they would want you to hide. So eye contact is very important. We'll also be looking at the importance of eye contact. What role does the eye contact play? Then we have number 3, what we are calling the posture. The way you stand, the way you present yourself. If you have gone to the office, to the staff room, there is a way you stand. If you go to the office of the president, similarly, there is a way you carry yourself. If you visited your grandmother in the village, there is a posture you put. So there are different body language for different situations. Number 4 is a smile. A smile is an oral skill. Smiling alone can communicate a lot. And it will also fall under gestures. When we look at the gestures, there's a slide about the gestures. We'll also talk about the smile and what it communicates. The next and very important is the introduction. How do you introduce yourself? How do you do what we call self-introduction? I am introducing myself. I am looking at the audience. I am telling them who I am. What should the introduction capture? When I was starting the lesson, I said my name, and I said where I teach, and I said I'm a teacher, and I emphasized that I teach students English, not I teach English to students. So introduction, we have what we call the self-introduction. Sometimes we may be required to introduce visitors who have come to our school. So you can also be doing an introduction of somebody else, not self-introduction. What should you capture in their profile? Next slide is still continuation of basic oral skills. There is a non-verbal communication there. There is a non-verbal cue there called bowing. I remember in one of the years in KCSE, they had asked students to define bowing and curtsy, and then they had told them to state occasions where bowing and curtsying happens. So we'll also look at that, and it is important we acquaint ourselves with those two, who bows and who curtsies. Then titles or protocols. For example, there is Master, there is Mrs., there is Honorable, there is Excellency, Your Holiness, etc., etc. When we are I remember I told you, you might be in a situation where you have met with a VIP. In this case, let us take the most common one, who is a member of parliament. I come from Gatundu North Sub-County, and my member of parliament is Honorable Kuroria. Honorable Kuroria, not Mr. Kuroria. But myself, because I'm a teacher, I am Mr. Kimani. Then we have what we call the language and the tone. The language and the tone is very important. When we walk to the offices, we adopt a tone that has humility, depending on the issue that has taken us there. So it is important also to observe our language and the tone. Then etiquette, which I said is the acceptable norms when we are doing communication in social places. And the last aspect here is the non-verbal cues. We also call them paralinguistics. Non-verbal cues include facial expressions, the way you change your face to communicate different emotions, anger, happiness, etc., etc. We also have gestures. Gestures are made by 3 body parts. We'll also come to that. We can make hand gestures, we can make head gestures, and we can make face gestures. Next is the importance of greetings. I remember we talked about that, and that question had come. And at this point, I would want to advise you to be creative, because going by the setting of last year's KCSE paper 1 questions, I think the Kenya National Examinations Council has become very creative. If you look at the questions that were there, and I'm going to read some of them, we were caught off guard because they were relying more on application and were so creatively crafted that we were caught flat-footed. But nonetheless, there are very many areas now we can explore under the oral skills, not the conventional ones that we are used to. Like now, the importance of greetings. And there's a slide there that captures that. I will not go through all of them because of the time, but I would want to emphasize the 2 points there. It is through greetings that we strike a rapport. A rapport is a liking, a relationship. So that when I shake your hand, if I meet you in the streets and I shake your hand, there is a way we will begin a relationship of liking one another. Then from there, it lays the foundation for our communication. So greetings are very important. I don't know how you would feel if you meet with someone you know and they pass you without greeting you. You feel offended. So you can see how important greetings are. And there are also very many forms of greetings. There are those greetings that would bring warmth. For example, if someone you have not met for a long time meets you, bump into each other, and he hugs you, there is a way you feel like you've been together with that person. So greetings play a very important role in the oral skills. Then it is also a sign of respect. Even if you don't know somebody and you're walking in the village, and you greet them, there is a way they feel honored, that you value them. It is also, greetings also show that we respect the presence of that person. That's why we are greeting them and they are there, etc., etc. The next slide is about introduction. And here I am going to give you different ways introduction can be done. How to introduce yourself. How do you introduce yourself? We go back to our notes and we remind ourselves. I do not want to dwell on that much, but under introduction, I want us to know that there could be a question on introduce yourself. You've been invited to a neighboring school to do a presentation. This is a typical question. How would you introduce yourself? 3 marks. That is one way. Another way could be a visitor has come to your school and you've been given the responsibility to introduce that guest. Of course, you'll have met with the guest so that he or she can give you personal details. But how do you introduce that guest? That is introduction of another person. The third part under introduction is what to capture in self-introduction. If I am introducing myself to an audience, people who do not know me, what is it that I should tell them? What are the basics? And the last part there, which I want to read, was in KCSE question. Here it is. There are different expressions you may use to introduce yourself. This was last year's paper. That's why I'm saying we need to be creative even as we interact with the mock papers, because there is a new way of questioning. There are different expressions or phrases you may use to introduce yourself. The candidate who are told, write down any 2 of them. There are different expressions or phrases you may use to introduce yourself. Write down any 2 of them. You can see. Some of the things we are taking for granted, and then because of the smartphones, people have learned the shortcuts. So if we use the shortcut we use when we are sending text through WhatsApp, will that count as a mark? Because the smartphone and the social media in general is eroding some of the basic ways in which we used to do things. And it is important we differentiate between the social media ways of introduction and the conventional ways that you score in an examination situation. We move on. The next slide talks of the importance of eye contact. What role does eye contact play in an oral situation? Number 1, it conveys attentiveness. If the 2 of us are talking and are maintaining an eye contact, you get a feeling, even if I may not be attentive, but the feeling you get is that I am attentive. Then is also a sign of respect. If an adult is talking to a child and the child was looking elsewhere or down, the adult feels offended. And likewise, even the child talking to their father, they would want their father to show respect by paying attention. And paying attention here means looking at the person talking. Shows that you are, I've seen that, is also a sign of empathetic listening. Empathetic listening. I want to explain that. Empathetic listening, for example, the person you are talking to is conveying sad news. Maybe they have lost a loved ones and the person is breaking the news to you and you are not looking at them. When you look at that person and it tells you at some point in the conversation, our father or our mother passed on at this time, I am sure there is something you register on your face. That expression of sadness, is what we call empathy. Because in communication, there are situations that require you to show happiness, shock, surprise, etc., etc. Therefore, when you are doing empathetic listening, it means you are emotionally connected with the person speaking to you, and they can see from your face where there was sadness. You registered sadness through facial expressions. So it is important that we maintain eye contact with our speakers. Next is a smile. I talked of a smile. It's a very simple gesture, but it carries a lot of weight. A smile can even bring warring parties to sit together. There are some places in the world where countries are engaged in war. I am sure if one of them emerges and the other one emerges and they just smile at one another, there will be a whole world of difference. So a smile is very important. Even some of the friends you have today, I am sure you started with a smile, and today they are your best friends. In some cases like adults, they are our spouses, etc., etc. So you can see a smile does magic. When we smile, it eases, it puts others at ease. This person is smiling at us, so he's a good person. And that is the easiness we are talking about. It also creates a sense of warmth. If you are around people who are smiling, and in my school, we have a student called a smiling machine because she is ever smiling. You can see whenever that student is in your midst, there is some warmth in that. It's also a form of introduction. You could do introduction by simply smiling. For example, if we are many of us and we are standing in front and we are told to introduce ourselves and I smile, you smile back, I will have introduced myself. And the other thing is that it can be used to start a conversation. If I am walking somewhere and I see a group of border guys and I smile at them, I am sure they would be attracted to me, and from there we can begin a conversation, and I can tell them I'm going to this place. They can now offer to take me. The other thing, listening and speaking, also oral skills. Some of them we are going to tackle them in this lesson, others in our subsequent lessons. Remember, if you have just joined us, this is KUTV, Elimu Live, and this is Kenya's premier educational television. Here we offer primary and high school lessons for our students. Under listening and speaking, I wanted to focus on a few areas that I selected. One of them is a silent letters. That is a concept that comes where we have brought some words and we are asked to identify a letter that is silent in that word. The other area I will also look at on the board is the stress in words and stress in sentences. Then intonation, the 5 types of intonation, the falling intonation, the rising intonation, the rising falling, the falling rising, and the level intonation. We'll also look at them and the occasions where different intonations are used. Then we have other scales, including turn-taking scales. When 2 or 3 people are talking, they take turns They do not talk at the same time. They take turns. Then you have negotiation skills, very important in life because we almost use this skill every day. Then the next is the oral reports. The oral report, I don't know whether that is on this slide. The oral reports. For example, we make report to the police station. We make report to our doctors. We make report to school. You may witness an incident of theft. These are common everyday incidents. We might witness an incident in school and you are called upon by the teacher on duty to give an oral report. What should an oral report capture? I think that question was also there in KCSE, and the way it was asked is in a very creative way. Then we have courteous or polite interruptions. Sometimes you may want to interrupt someone, and there are ways to do it in a courteous way or in a polite way so that the other person will not feel offended. Then we have discussion skills. In our groups, I know Form 4s are formed discussion groups, and there are some skills we need so that we can make the best out of those groups. If we do not have those skills, we will make noise the whole 2 hours, and hence we'll end up with nothing. But if we inculcate good discussion skills, we will benefit or we will improve the output of those groups. Then we have debating skills. Debating skills, I know there is a circuit of debaters from Central Kenya, and the students who take part in that contest exhibit very good debating skills. Sometimes we win a contest not because we have the best points, but because our language skills, our debating skills are very good. They are very persuasive. They are very convincing. And therefore, when we talk, we convince the other side that we follow this way and not the other way. Even when you are winning a girl, when we are winning a boy, these skills are important. Giving and taking instructions, we also supposed to know what to capture in that. If you are the one giving instructions or directions for that matter, what should you focus on so that you'll have done justice to the other person? Then we have taking instructions. I think I have mentioned that. Next slide. There is interview skills. Interview skills. Interview skills. At some point, or even by now, even if some of us are students, I am sure we have found ourselves in the hot seat or in situations where we are supposed to do an interview, where we are being measured. Our quality, our linguistic quality is being put to test because we are being interviewed. That is very important. Even after school, when you want a job, you will apply and you'll be called for an interview. So those are skills that's why I said oral skills are everyday skills. Disagreeing, I talked. Oh, okay. Interview skills are very important. Disagreeing politely, that is also very important. The role playing, where you are put on the seat and you are told, imagine you are the president of Kenya. What would you do under these circumstances? You see, you are playing the role of the president. You think, sometimes people think the other person enjoys. Even you can be told to be the principal of your school, and you can be told to explain to students what happens to this or the other. That means you take questions as if you are the principal herself or himself. So much so, up to that point, now I want us to do some work on the board. Under the silent letters, I picked 4 ones. to represent the many others. I am waiting for that slide to come up on the screen. Silent letters. There it is. This is a KUTV, Kenya's premier educational television. We have lessons for primary schools and secondary schools starting at 2 p.m. all the way up to 4. And Saturday classes start at 8:30 to 10:50 a.m. If you are a teacher, you can also avail yourself and come and dispense your knowledge to the Kenyan children. Silent letters. For you to do very well in this concept, you need a dictionary. You'll need a dictionary to work out the silent letters. And when you are doing this exercise, as you are going to witness very shortly, there are very many things that you are going to learn. For example, the first one there is, I am writing it here on the board. I am writing the word on the board. I have done some spacing out because if you have a dictionary, and there is a dictionary we recommend for high school, and we do that for a very good reason. If you have the 10th edition of the Oxford, the Advanced Learners Dictionary, it would do you some justice. If you look at this word from your dictionary, you'll be able to notice a number of things, and that's what I want to bring to attention. From the screen, from my screen, you can see that one has some tiny blue dots somewhere here. Mine are red. Mine are red. But if you have a dictionary, you'll notice in the dictionary the tiny blue dots. The tiny blue dots. Sorry, the tiny dots are in blue. But here I am using red. I am hoping you can see. This one, where the dots are, is where we call the syllable break. The syllable break. If you are writing this word, the word is secretary, towards the end of your page, somewhere here, and you break it there, that one will be marked as wrong because you have broken that word where there is no syllable break. So if you are on that page where this word is, you will notice the other ones with the 2 dots, 4 dots, 1 dot, and others without. So the tiny blue dot signifies the syllable break. That is where you break the word. If we were to break this word, we would break it here. We would break it there, like that. Meaning, if I were to count the syllables in that word, there are 3. I will have this syllable, and that syllable. Once with 3 syllables, we call them trisyllabic. Trisyllabic. Tri means 3. And this one has 3. That is one thing we learn when we are using the dictionary. The syllable break. Note that. Maybe I can emphasize it one more time. If you are on a page, any page of a dictionary, the ones are written in black. The entries of those ones are in black, most of them, or all of them. But in the word itself, there are some places with the tiny blue dots. That is where you break that word. In the case you are writing it at the head there and you want them to show continuation in the next line. Otherwise, you can't break it here. You cannot break it here. You cannot break it here. You can only break it where there is a syllable break. On the cover, on the inside cover of the dictionary, they have explained the symbols used in the dictionary. And one of the symbols explained is a tiny blue dot. for syllable break. That is one thing. Even if you don't remember anything else in this lesson, please do me a favor and remember the tiny blue dots. When we go back to school next term, talk about the tiny blue dots where ones are broken. And there are ones you cannot break. For example, the word school. The word school, it has very many letters. This word is monosyllabic. Mono means one. Monosyllabic. Mono means one. When we are marking English paper 3, where you do the essays, we find students breaking it here, breaking it here, breaking it here, anywhere they want. That is a crime. That is a crime. You can only break it, you cannot break this. Because of time, I am going to move a bit faster now. After the word, I haven't told you how to read the word because we want to identify the silent letter. After the word entry in the dictionary, you'll see a symbol like that, which we call a forward slash. A forward slash. After that word, there is an entry there of the word. If you have a dictionary at home, I hope you have, that word is written there like that. And there is another one there. So, what we have here is the word. What we have here, we call it a transcription, the way the word is pronounced. The pronunciation of this word is put between two forward slashes. This slash and this other one. The moment we put this word here, this one becomes symbols. And if you are keen on my slide or in the dictionary, you will have noticed a mark there, like that appears like an apostrophe. You will have noticed a mark like that. This one we call it the stress mark. And this one we call it the transcription. And these ones are the forward slashes. So the stress on this word falls on the first syllable. It has 3 syllables. So the stress is on the first syllable. Se, se. That is the one you say the loudest. Now we wanted to know which letter is silent. Once you transcribe, and I tell my students in school, they must write the word, they must also copy the transcription because they must do the working. When you copy the word and you copy the transcription, you can begin to see S is here, S is here. E is here, E is here. C is here, it is represented here by K, sound K. We don't have sound C in English, instead it becomes sound K, K. Then R is here, it is here. E is here, it is here. T is here, and it is here. A is here, it is not here. R is here, R is here. Y, this one same vowel, is here. So that answers the question, which letter is silent? Letter A is silent. Therefore, this word cannot be read as secretary. It cannot be read as secretary because secretary means you are reading all the syllables, you are reading all the letters, including A. The correct pronunciation of this word is secretary. Secretary. Secretary, not secretary. Our secretary in school, not our secretary in school. In the interest of time, I am going to do the second one very quickly. This word has suffered a lot. This word has suffered a lot. People read this word as sworn because they are reading from SWO. If you have a dictionary at home, you will notice this letter is silent. Therefore, it is not a sworn. Even if you forget everything else in this lesson, please remember it is not a sworn, but it is a sound. A sound. Sound. And I have shown you the transcription there, and it is also monosyllabic. The other one is where we all go to school and people go to secondary. That is how people read it. I teach at Nyedu Secondary. That is wrong. The pronunciation of secondary, if you have a dictionary, it will tell you A, just like in the first one, is silent. Therefore, the word is secondary. Secondary. Secondary school. Secondary school. My colleague mother teaches at Ondienya Secondary School. I teach at Nyedu Secondary School, not secondary. Please let us change that. We are moving on to the next part. I don't know whether time will allow. We have about 5 minutes. The next slide is a performance of a line. I hope I will be able to do this and wind up at that. Performance of a line or performance of a sentence. Performance of a line or performance of a sentence. When we are tackling this issue of performance, they also ask you, how would you say this line? This performance question has 3 approaches. We have what we call the stress in sentences approach. We have intonation approach. And we have non-verbal cues approach. How would you perform a sentence like, the sun rises from the east? You're on stage and you are doing a performance. And the examiner asks you, how would you perform? How would you say, the sun rises from the east? Or any other statement. Mostly when they bring a poem or a conversation, even last year that question was there in paper 1. I want to start with the stress in sentences. The one for intonation is where you talk of whether you would use rising intonation, falling intonation, rising, falling, falling, rising, or the level intonation, depending on the statement, because different statements require different intonations. So for the stress, this is the one I think time will allow us to look at. I will use, there's a sentence I have here. I will start by saying, in sentences, we have 2 types of ones. We have 2 types of ones in every sentence. We have content ones, and I want you to listen keenly because I want this problem to be eradicated completely. We have content and we have what we call functional ones. Content and the functional. For you to get this, you must know the part of speech. You must know the part of speech. We have 8 parts of speech. Content ones are nouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. Parts of speech: nouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. They are called content ones. They are in the next slide. The other 4: prepositions, pronouns, conjunctions, and determinants. Yeah, that's the slide with the content ones. Content ones are stressed. These ones we say, we stress them. Why? They convey meaning. These ones are unstressed. Why? Make sentence grammatical. I am going to say this again Slowly now. It's very important. Before you tell us how you would perform a line of a poem or a sentence, before you perform it or you say it, we begin from part of speech. Would you know a noun in a sentence? Would you know a verb in a sentence? Would you know an adverb in a sentence? If you do, then you classify ones into two. Any sentence you have under the sun has two types of ones. Any sentence or any line of a poem, it will have content ones, which include nouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. If you know that, you are good to go. And for content ones, we stress the meaning, we say them louder than the others. Why? Because they convey the meaning in a sentence. They are the ones that bring out the meaning in a sentence. Without the content ones, a sentence would be grammatical but meaningless. Then functional ones are the others: prepositions, pronouns, conjunctions, determiners. Here we have interjections and the articles. We don't stress them. Why? Their work is to make the sentence grammatical. You can have a grammatical sentence but has no meaning. And we are coming to the end. Therefore, if we have a sentence like this, and it will be our last example here: the sun rises from the east. And the examiner asked, and you can have your own sentence at home. In fact, we can look at the one on the next slide, the one that was asked in KCSE. The sun, you always split it like this, split it like that, and allocate. On the top here, you say the part of speech. There is what part of speech is there? It will fall under determiners. Functional. So here it is, functional. Sun would fall under noun. Nouns are content ones. Rises is a verb. Verbs are content. From is preposition. Prepositions are functional. We don't stress them. The second is determiner. Determiners are functional. We do not. And the last one there, east. East can be an adverb of place, and adverbs are content. So with this, if your sentence is split like this, and the question was, which ones would you stress in this sentence? You stress content ones, and you say why? Because they convey meanings. And the ones that we would convey, we would stress are the sun rises from the east. These ones, the three of them, are very important because they are conveying the meaning in that sentence. So similarly, if you have any other, you would do the splitting that way, and then you would be able to see the part of speech on top here and the type of ones, whether functional or content, and from there you can make a judgment of whether to stress or not. I want to take a few questions. I don't know whether they are already in. As I remind you that you are watching KUTV, and this is Kenya's premier educational television. A few questions. Okay. I think there are no questions. I should be coming to the end of the lesson. You've been watching oral skills, KCSE English Paper 1. My name is Teacher Ashford Gikunda Kimani. I am an examiner with the Kenya National Examinations Council, and I teach students English and literature at Ngedu Secondary School in Gatondo North Sub-County. It has been a pleasure teaching you, And like I said at the beginning, I hope we are all making the best of our holiday, because it is very soon we are going to come back to school. We'll find ourselves in term 2, then term 3, and thereafter we will be doing our national exams. We have not concluded on oral skills. Maybe in our subsequent lessons, or the other teachers who will come after me, they will address the remaining areas. Thank you very much for watching us. It is bye-bye for now.